I don't usually take the subway late at night, but that day I had no choice. It was a Tuesday, and I was working late at the office on 42nd Street. By the time I left, it was almost midnight, and I was exhausted. I figured the subway would be quicker than walking home, so I headed down into the station. The platform was mostly empty, except for a few stragglers. You know, the usual late-night crowd, people trying to get home, looking tired like me. But there was one girl who stood out. She was sitting on a bench by herself, staring straight ahead, not looking at her phone or anything. She looked young, maybe in her early 20s, with dark hair and a worn-out leather jacket. I didn't think much of it at first. I mean, it's New York. People keep to themselves. But there was something about the way she was sitting there, like she was waiting for someone or something. Her hands were clenched tightly in her lap, and she kept glancing toward the far end of the platform where there was a dark, empty tunnel. I stood nearby, trying not to stare. I didn't want to make her uncomfortable, but the more I watched, the more I started to feel uneasy. She didn't move. She didn't check the time. Just kept looking toward that tunnel like she expected someone to come out of it. After a few minutes, the train finally rolled in. The doors slid open with that usual screech, and I got in thinking she would too. But she didn't. She stayed there, frozen, still staring at the tunnel. As the train pulled away, I saw her through the window, still sitting there, all alone. I couldn't shake the weird feeling I had, but I tried to tell myself it was nothing. People are strange in New York. You learn not to question it. But for some reason, I couldn't stop thinking about her, the way she looked. Scared. The next night, I ended up working late again. Same deal. Headed to the subway, hoping to catch a quick ride home. And there she was. Same girl, same spot on the bench, looking at the tunnel. This time, it gave me chills. It was like she hadn't moved at all since the night before. Same jacket, same posture, same blank stare. I stood there for a while, pretending to scroll through my phone, but I kept watching her out of the corner of my eye. I wanted to say something. Maybe ask if she was okay, but I didn't. Something held me back like it wasn't my business. The train came, and again she didn't get on. She just sat there waiting. I got on the train and tried to forget about it. But as the days went by, I kept seeing her. Every night, same bench, same spot, same tunnel. It was like she was stuck in a loop. One night, after a long day, I finally decided to talk to her. I had to know what was going on. When I walked up to the platform, she was there again, sitting on the bench, her hands clenched in her lap. I approached her slowly, trying not to freak her out. "Hey," I said, "are you okay?" She didn't look at me at first, but after a few seconds, she slowly turned her head. Her eyes were wide, and I could see the fear in them. Real fear, like she was terrified of something. "I'm waiting for someone," she whispered. Her voice was shaky, like she hadn't spoken in a long time. "Who?" I asked, feeling uneasy. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she glanced back toward the tunnel, her eyes darting nervously. "He's coming," she said quietly. "He's always coming." That freaked me out. I didn't know what to say, so I just stood there, feeling more uncomfortable by the second. The train pulled in, and I turned to get on. Before I left, I glanced back at her. She was still staring at the tunnel, her body tense like she was bracing for something. The next day at work, I couldn't concentrate. I kept thinking about her, about what she said. "He's always coming." Who was she talking about? Was she in trouble? I felt guilty for not doing more. I figured maybe I should tell someone, but who? What could I even say? That night, I went back to the station, hoping I wouldn't see her again. But of course, she was there. Same spot. This time, though, something was different. She looked worse, pale, her hair messy, like she hadn't slept in days. I walked over to her, but before I could say anything, she stood up abruptly and walked toward the tunnel. I followed her, feeling a strange sense of dread. As she got closer to the edge, I saw someone emerge from the darkness. A man, tall and shadowy, walking toward her with purpose. My heart raced. I wanted to yell, to tell her to run, but I was frozen in place. She just stood there waiting like she had been expecting him all along. Then without a word, the man grabbed her. It happened so fast. He pulled her into the shadows, and before I could react, they were gone. Just like that. I stood there, stunned, trying to process what I had just seen. I ran to the edge of the platform, looking into the tunnel, but there was nothing. No sign of her. No sign of him. I reported it to the police, told them everything I saw. But they didn't find anything, no body, no evidence, nothing. It was like she vanished into thin air. But I know what I saw. She was there, and he was real.